CFO, Mr. Rajesh Singh, Chief Marketing Officer, and Mr. Soundarajan, Company Secretary. We will start the session today with opening remarks from the management, and then this will be followed by a Q&A session. I request all the participants to be on mute mode during the course of the call. I would now like to hand over the call to Mr. Gavin Disa of CDR and for his opening remarks. Over to you, Gavin.
Thank you, Manish. Good day, everyone, and a warm welcome to Sagar Cements Q4 and FY21 earnings call. As Manish said, we have with us today Mr. Srikanth Reddy, the Joint Managing Director, Mr. K. Prasad, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Rajesh Singh, Chief Marketing Officer, and Mr. R. Soundarajan, the Company Secretary. We will begin this call with opening remarks from the management, following which we will have the floor open for an interactive Q&A session. Before we begin, I would like to point out that some statements made in today's discussions may be forward-looking in nature, and a note to this effect has been stated in the con-call invite sent to you earlier. We trust you have had a chance to go through the financial result communications. I would now like to hand over to Mr. Reddy for his opening remarks. Over to you, Srikanth.
Thank you, Gavin. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Sagar Cements earnings call for the quarter and year ended March 31st, 2021. Let me begin the discussion with the sector-related dynamics with respect to pricing and demand trends across our key markets, post which I will move on to Sagar-specific developments. Volume growth during the quarter remained elevated owing to the strong underlying demand. Higher government spending and steady rural economy, along with the soft base, aided the demand sentiments. Consistent demand from individual housing in semi-urban, rural region, and a healthy pickup in infrastructure activities helped in driving the volumes for the quarter. Volumes in southern and western regions to some extent were supported by a pickup in government-led infrastructure projects. Moving on to prices, a sharp rise in input prices necessitated price revisions during the quarter. Broadly though, on a sequential basis, realizations remained more or less steady. Region-wise, the price movements in AP, Tamil Nadu and Telangana were offset by the decline in Karnataka and Kerala. Softness in Kerala was due to falling demand ahead of state elections. Moving to the west, Maharashtra resumption of the construction activities and availability of the workers led to improved realizations in the region after a long gap. Prices in east, which were trending below the historical average, improved to some extent. Going forward, we continue to remain positive on the business and believe the steady demand from housing, industrial and infrastructure provides strong visibility both in terms of demand as well as the pricing trajectory. Moving on to Sagar-specific developments, we are pleased with our performance for the quarter and the year as a whole. Yeah, it was an extremely challenging year for all of us, which I'm sure most of you would agree. But I'm delighted and proud with the way we have dealt with it. I would like to thank our employees, dealers, distributors, bankers, and all our stakeholders who have supported us throughout the year. Before moving on to the financial performance for the quarter, let me just apprise you of the latest developments with regards to our erstwhile subsidiary, Sagar Cements R Limited. As most of you must be aware, Board of Sagar Cements approved the proposal to merge SCRL with itself just a couple of weeks back. Given that it's a merger of a wholly owned subsidiary, it will not result in incremental share issuance by Sagar Cements. The rationale behind the merger was to lower the cost overheads and improve the overall efficiency. The amalgamation will result in efficient utilization of capital and an improved financial structure. Moving on to a quarterly performance now, we have delivered a good revenues and profitability growth. Revenue growth was backed by good volumes on the back of strong underlying demand. EBITDA for the quarter grew by 133% over the previous year, amounting to rupees 104 crores. Profitability could have been higher, but for the rising input prices. Yeah, we have been steadily increasing. We have seen a steady increase in the input material prices, be it petcoke, coal or diesel. As indicated in the previous call, yeah, we have had low-cost petcoke inventory which lasted till January, following which we had to shift to Australian coal. Yeah, in addition to the low-cost inventory, higher utilizations levels and the operating leverages resulted in softening the impact of the rising variable costs and helped in normalizing the fixed costs. Going ahead, we believe the commissioning of Satguru and Jajpur plant will help us in further rationalizing our cost besides improving product mix. The average power and fuel cost stood at rupees 864 per ton as against rupees 911 per ton reported during Q4 FY20. Optimization of thermal efficiency coupled with the lower fuel prices resulted in lower per ton cost of fuel. Freight cost for the quarter stood at rupees 742 per ton as against rupees 713 per ton for Q4 FY20. Profit after the tax for the quarter stood at rupees 50 crores as against a profit of rupees 1 crore reported during Q4 FY20. On an annual base, revenue from the operations for the year stood at rupees 1,371 crores as against rupees 1,175 crores generated during the last year, increase of almost 17% YOY. EBITDA for the year stood at rupees 400 crores as against rupees 186 crores reported during FY20, up by almost 116% YOY.
Okay.
Profit before tax for the year stood at rupees 281 crore as against rupees 50 crores reported during FY20. Profit after tax for the year stood at rupees 186 crore as against a PAT of rupees 27 crore reported during FY20. From an operational point of view, Mattampally plant operated at 61% utilization level, while Gudipadu and Bayyavaram plants operated at 88 and 73% respectively during the quarter. As far as the key balance sheet items are concerned, the gross debt on 31st of March 2021 stood at rupees 806 crore, out of which rupees 704 crore is long-term and the remaining constitutes the working capital. The net worth of the company on a consolidated basis as on 31st of March 2021 stood at rupees 1,258 crore. Debt equity ratio stands at 0.56:1 and the bank balances were rupees 254 crores as on 31st of March 2021. That concludes my opening remarks. Would now be glad to take any questions that you might have. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. We will now begin with the Q&A session. A reminder to all participants, you can ask your question by raise of hands in the participant tab of the Zoom platform. We'll wait for a moment for the question queue to assemble. Our first question is from the line of Bala. You may please unmute your line and go ahead, please. I think we have lost his line. And the next question is from the line of Pritesh Sheth. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity and congrats on the great year for Sagar Cement. My first question is on, so we saw Andhra government cement sourcing crossing 1 million ton, which they had promised last year, again, which is a very good performance. With very good ordering from their side. From here on, how do you look at it? Will this trend continue? Obviously, March might be because of being the last month, there might be some more push out in terms of orders. But from here on, how do you see this trend to continue?
Yeah, good morning. See, I think as committed, Andhra government has been consistently and steadily taking a lot of cement. We did suffer during the April month for obvious reasons. I think for the next couple of months, the scenario may not be very different. But given the commitments to sticking to their political manifesto, which they have given earlier, and what they have indicated in a couple of meetings that we have had before the second wave really hit hard and the entire machinery being busy with it, handling it. Yeah, we think that in the current year, the demand from government should be more than doubling is what we think, Pritish. So we don't see a major issues coming from the Andhra government offtake.
Right. And what do you see the impact of impact post the elections in Tamil Nadu and Kerala? Demand is going to continue again or might slow down a bit after that?
See, I have to go only with the historical trend, sir. I mean, our experience in the past is 6 months before and close to 6 to 9 months post-election. Demand typically tends to slow down. But this time around, this is an unusual and very difficult times. So predicting how it will shape up would definitely be a challenge. coupled with the regime changes in Tamil Nadu and the government coming back in Kerala, how the demand is going to shape up is anybody's guess at this point of time, given the second wave of pandemic, Pratish. So it's too soon for us to comment anything on the demand outlook for any of the states, leave alone these states. For any of the states, it's likely going to be a big challenging kind of an environment now. And predicting any number also would definitely be a challenge right now. We may have to wait before we know the trend lines to certain accurate. The only silver lining what we have seen is the lockdowns did not really make the dispatches to zero. There were some dispatches, which gives us some comfort that it may not be as nasty or as bad as the COVID second wave itself is.
Right, thanks. So I think that was my second question as well. In terms of how are you seeing demand in terms of April and May? Has the fallout been very drastic, or it's still 20-30% lower than the numbers we saw in January, February? I won't compare to March.
I would never go with the percentage drop, sir. The typical pre-March numbers would definitely be at elevated levels compared to the Q1 numbers. But the real impact we started seeing from 15th of April. From then on, we started seeing a steady slowdown in the overall kind of a demand. The only thing that we are happy about is that it has not come to standstill or zero. There are some dispatches which are happening, but the real trend lines we will only know probably sometime later. We hope, with the hope that the impact of COVID would start tapering down quite drastically from here on.
Right. So it's not that bad as last year, I would say.
These are not comparable. Like last year, it was complete. It hit and everything was caught out of surprise. This time, probably some of the states did not impose lockdown so far, and some of them have been doing in a staggering way. So far, it did not come to standstill, but it has slowed down quite a bit.
Sure, thanks. So, and one last from my side, it's on the cost. So, have you seen a full absorption of whatever the cost increase that we have seen till now, like petcoke reaching to $130?
See, in our case, we reached full high level. So far, in our case, we do fuel hedge for 6 months or 2 quarters ahead. So from last year to expected for the current quarter and the next quarter, we think the overall cost increase could be to an extent of 250 rupees, mostly due to the fuel prices. Fuel, when I talk, it's of the thermal fuel, and also because of the diesel price hike, it's only a matter of time, and the diesel also will hit century. So these two, we think that we will start the overall kind of a cost increase by around 250 rupees per ton compared to the last year to the current quarter and the next quarter. That's what we think.
Okay, compared to last year, not the last quarter.
Sir, for us, it's a weighted average. So if I have to compare with last quarter, probably it could be only 175 to 200, but compared to last year, it could be 250 kind of a number. But these are with an assumption that diesel price would slowly go up. If it increases, then it could impact. But as it is, we think 250 rupees could be an impact for the next 2 quarters relative to the last year.
Okay. Thanks. I think that's it from my side. I'll join back the queue in case I have any further questions. Thank you. And all the best. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shravan Shah. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes,
sir.
Sir.
Please go ahead.
Good morning.
Sir, just to reiterate, when you are saying a 250 rupees, that is, you are saying both combined power and fuel and freight cost increase for first and second quarter of this year versus last year.
Yes, sir. You are correct, sir.
Okay. And now coming back to the date level, now is 800 level. So we were looking at a peak date of 775 odd crores. So what's the status there, and how much capex left, and how much planning to do this year and the next year for both the ongoing capacity?
Yeah, now our net debt position is close to 550 crore, Shravan. We have another 225 odd crores still left for the capex. That includes both the projects as well as some of the capex that we do at Mattampally as well as Gudipadu. So all in, we may have to do somewhere around 225 to 250 crores of capex is left for the current year. Yeah, which is likely to be completed over next 2 quarters itself. Bulk of the capex would be completed during the Q1 and Q2 of this year, with an assumption that the impact of COVID would start tapering down from now.
So on the net debt or maybe gross debt, how much peak that we can look at?
I think at 800 we should pick out, sir. We should be relatively lower, but I'm trying to have a conservative estimate that includes the working capital. So we should pick out at 800, which is the current financial year. The next year probably it will drastically fall because this is the first year post implementation of both the projects. So we will be at peak and we have the moratorium. So I think at 800 crores we should pick out on the debt side.
Okay, and last time we guided that both these plants and you already said would be operational by end of this by September of this year. And we would be
sticking to the same guideline, sir. We are sticking to the same guideline.
Yeah. No. I got the point. I am trying to say that previously we said we can see around 50% kind of a utilization in the second half once it would be operational. So is it intact? And if that is the thing, and let's assume the COVID normalizes by that time and things should be normal, because both these plants are in the high demand zone. The next full year we can see of 80-90% kind of utilization in both the plants.
Yeah, Mr. Shravan, as I mentioned, both the projects, if the impact tapers down, we should be near commissioning by September. So that leaves 6 months of operation for both the projects. But I don't think we would be operating at 50%, sir. 50% of that 6 months would effectively translate to full year 25% capacity utilization for the current year. So the guideline what we have given from a volume outlook perspective is last year we did 3.1 million, sir. For the current year, what we have budgeted is around 3.6 million, where 3.2 million would be from the current or the assets that we have. And the 0.4 million is what we are guiding for both the assets put together, with the 0.2 million coming from each of the asset. So that gives a guidance of 3.6 million for the current year at a consolidated level for us.
Okay, thank you and all the best, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bala Murali. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. Actually, I have some. I would like to have some data on like capacity level, utilization levels of the existing.
Yeah, we would be more than happy sharing it off the line, sir. In fact, the investor presentation, it does carry the utilization level of plant-wise, Mr. Bala Murali. I think it is already presented in the presentation, but just in case you need more, we will be happy to share that.
Yeah, thank you. And one more thing, as I see, actually, I'm looking this sector from few days ago, and as I see that the power consumption, the cost we are spending on power is the main factor. So, do you have any idea? Means any plans to shift to solar power from the coal generated power?
Yeah, Mr. Bala Murali, see, I appreciate if you look at the presentation and the integrated report of last year, you have 80% of our power is from our internal sources, sir. That includes hydro, that includes solar, that includes waste heat recovery, and also the captive power plants. Yeah, the cushion of 20% is always kept as an insurance kind of a thing, just in case as a fallback. But as we speak, 80% of our power is from internal sources, sir, or captive sources for ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to all the participants, you can ask your question by raise of hands in the participant tab of the Zoom platform. The next question is from the line of Jaspreet Singh. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir. Good afternoon. and congrats on a very good year despite difficult conditions. So my question was based on the early trends in April and May. What are you seeing? Are the larger cities, the smaller cities, and tier 3 towns as impacted as the larger ones? That's one. And within retail and institutional, is it the same? Is it like the retail is more impacted because again, that side of the pocket is getting more hit versus the institutional? So your comment on this too, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, Jasprit. See, Jasprit, I think impact is across. I would not single out telling it's urban, rural, or semi-urban kind of a. Yeah, this time it has been nasty because I think it has touched all the near and dear. The offtake in these difficult times typically tends to be more with the institutional rather than retail, because lockdown and the understanding of how the schedule and all works did disturb some amount of retail in the initial phases in some of the states where lockdown was imposed slightly ahead of the other states. But as we speak, the institutional sale looks to be higher than the retail one, Jasprit. I think like in the first wave or the first time last year, same time, yeah, it started with urban, but I think it is slowly spreading. But this spread this time was a lot more quicker, and it has been across, Jasprit. So we did lose dealers. Some of them lost life. Some of our colleagues did get impacted. They recovered. Some of them. It's an issue which is ongoing. So the real impact, probably assessing that, it's too soon. Yeah, we only hope and wish that it doesn't get worse than what it has so far done.
Okay. And got it. Thank you. The other one is this three. Did I hear it correctly? We are looking at something like 3.6 MT versus 3.2 MT last year.
We did 3.1 Jasprit last year.
So 3.1, yeah.
Yeah, from 3.1, the budgeted number is 3.6.
Out of which 0.4 is the
two projects, the new projects, and 3.2 is from the existing.
So my question was on that 3.2. What are you building in? What are your assumptions? Because the way situation is on the ground, right? So how are you? What's your sense in terms of the ease out or unlock, etc., Q1 moving up to Q2, Q3? How much do you think Q2 would be better versus Q1? Just to understand.
Yeah, Jasprit, just to remind you, last year Q1 also was very low, Jasprit. In fact, April was 0.
Right. Correct.
So we don't see a big challenge as we speak, with an assumption that it would taper out.
Sure.
So we don't see any challenges. We might follow the similar kind of a suit like how we have done last year. So we are not factoring a great number increase from the existing kind of an operation, though there was surge of demand during the second half last year, and especially Q4 was phenomenal. But we are not factoring any of that demand rises for the current year. Yeah, we are still trying to have a conservative estimate. So we don't see a bigger challenge achieving that 3.2. But the caveat there is that we not only optimistically, but that has been the wish that the second wave impact should taper down from here on, is what is our assumption, Jasprit.
Okay, got it. Yeah, just wanted to understand that if at all things remain as it is or it improves, we should be surprised on the positive side on this number. So that was the larger.
Yeah, that's the hope and wish, but we cannot go on the hope alone, right? So
no, I agree. It's a quarter-to-quarter dynamic situation. So yeah, fair point. Yeah, got it, sir. Thank you so much, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sanjay Nandi. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, hope you are safe, sir. Okay.
So good, just two questions. Good so far, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so good, sir. So two questions from my side, like what would be the synergies from the merger what we have concluded on the month of April, like for the SCRL merger?
Yeah, the major synergy comes from the fact that though the brand and the marketing team is highly synergized, but there is a lot of duplication when it comes to the compliance related, especially the board meetings, the planning, and it's an independent company. So most of the procurement has to be done very, very independently, sir. So from an operational standpoint, though the ownership is complete, but having two assets in the same business as an independent kind of a thing, we thought it may not make a good business sense. The holding structure as such, it is 100% wholly owned. Yeah, we never wanted to have too many step downs, so we are trying to ease out on the structural issue from an ownership perspective also, Mr. Nani. Yeah, the bigger synergies comes from the fact that we are duplicating, like purchase department, it's centralized, but raising purchase orders too independently, invoicing too independently, and everything starts becoming, I'm sure you will appreciate. Yeah, it's kind of a duplication for the same team. So that itself is a major synergy is what we see.
So, sir, can we see any cost synergy going forward from this merger, if possible?
Cost, I see from, I think from an operational perspective, cost may not be a significant kind of a saver. Yeah, one of the potential kind of a thing is on the tax optimization, sir. We don't see any other cost majorly getting saved because of the merger. It's more an operational.
So it's a structural change, basically. The structure will become much more
as well as the operational, sir. I think these are the two major benefits that we see in the merger, sir.
Okay. And sir, regarding the new capacities which we have announced basically for that Odisha and the Central India plant. So we are starting from the September thing, right?
So far, it looks like we should be ready for the September. Yeah, when the Sadhguru, the Madhya Pradesh project, when it had to take a complete stop 15th of April, when the oxygen supply and everything was banned for the industrial use, we had to take an abrupt stop. At that point of time, we were actually running ahead of time. Yeah, now with the stoppage, we expect the oxygen supply slowly started getting restored, and we expect that to come by first week of June. So we hope to go back to the same number of people who are working at the site. If that happens, and we wish it happens, then we are due for commissioning in September. Now, coming to the Odisha project, sir, it did not get impacted so far because it's part of an industrial estate. We hope it remains the way it is. So that also is likely that we should commission much before September itself.
So combining these two things, we're estimating up like volume to deliver in the quantum of 0.4 million ton, right? For the second half of the year.
Yes, sir. For these two new projects, we are expecting a 0.4 million ton addition to our existing volumes that we would do from the existing assets that we have.
So, sir, that basically comes roughly kind of 40% kind of utilization. So for this year, so
no, sir, it doesn't come as 40, sir. It is much lower than 20-25%. Because what we are looking at is a 2.5 million ton addition, 1 million at Madhya Pradesh and a 1.5 million ton at Odisha, sir. 2.5 million, we are talking of 0.4, sir.
0.4 million ton. Okay. So, sir, going forward, like what can we expect in the next year, like FY23, if the things, the way they are shaping up?
Yeah, we think 75 to 80% at Sadhguru is a possibility, and 70% at Jajpur, Odisha is a possibility.
And from the debt front, sir, you just mentioned like we are still left over with 225 crore of capex. So if we are standing at a gross debt level of 800 odd crores, so like roughly 1,000 crores would be the peak debt, sir, right? Am I right, sir?
No, sir. We on a net basis we are only at 500 to 550, sir. So gross debt may not cross more than 800 is what we think for the current year.
After the payoffs.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Back in a queue, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hope you stay safe, sir. Stay fine.
Please do stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Prateek Kumar. Please go ahead, Prateek.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. My first question is on cement prices. So there have been like attempts of raising prices, like in April, then in month of May. So, sir, how has been the attempt like going through in the month of May? Have they been able to? I mean, has the industry been able to take price hike? And as logistics now impacting the operations, which is helping the price as well?
Yeah. Good afternoon, Prateek. I cannot comment about the industry. I can only comment about ourselves. Yeah, that's our job, sir. I mean, I think we have to realize whatever we think is the best possible thing that we can do. yeah, the attempt is always there. In fact, the price regime took a slightly downward this thing last year from January, February. Yeah, the prices slowly started inching up from March till April 15th. From March or from February exit to March exit, I think there is a 10 to 15 rupees per bag kind of an increase that we have seen for ourselves. From March to April 15th, yeah, we did realize extra 10 rupees that we could get. From April 15th onwards, though there is, since the volume started shrinking, yeah, the clear direction that was passed on to our marketing team is to recover fixed cost increases that are likely to happen. Yeah, but in reality, we would only get to know after some time, sir, as the retail, most of the retail kind of a regime is under pressure with the lockdown and handling the ecosystem. The real increase in prices we will only get to know after some time, Pratik. It's too soon for us to comment anything. But the general trend has been on an upward compared to exit prices from March to April 15th to May entry. Yeah, we have seen certain increases, but the quantum and all, we will only be in a much better situation to comment after some time.
But at best, it would be rupees 10 or lower.
Pratik, I do not want to take any guess, Pratik. I would rather wait because see, during this time, the challenge was to survive rather than to look at these things. So most of the marketing staff actually went back to the work from home, and some of the dealers did get impact. As I mentioned even earlier, we did lose a couple of dealers, unfortunately, for COVID. So at this point of time, the impact assessment is still going on, but we will exactly be in a much comfortable scenario. Probably end of this month, we'll be in a much better situation to comment on this, Pratik. I do not want to make a wild guess on this, Pratik. I'm sure you'll appreciate that.
And just one question, sir. You said that fuel, we have shifted our fuel to international coal. So what will be our fuel mix now?
Yeah, Pratik, we have been shifting from petcoke to Australian coal. From Australian coal, now we would be shifting back to coke as well as US coal. So that's the mix that we have right now. Yeah, this is the mix that is available for us for next 6 months or 2 quarters, Pratik. So we have one shipload of petcoke that is arriving, and we already have one shipload that has arrived from an US coal perspective. So we would be doing the blend of these two fuels over next 2 quarters.
And this factor is 175 rupees increase from Q4 exit you mentioned.
Yes, sir. You are correct, Pratik.
Thanks, sir. I'll get back to the queue.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Jashandeep. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is actually Satyadeep Jain from Ambit, dial in using Jashandeep's name. Good afternoon, Mr. Reddy. Just a couple of questions on power and fuel cost. Firstly, we are hearing of force majeures in some ports after COVID. So as you see your some of these shipments you've hedged, are you seeing any impact on these commitments from these force majeures?
Fortunately, no. We have the entire coal, the US coal, one shipload is already dumped at the port, sir. And the petcoke also is due. I think it's on sale. So far, we have not had any of these force majeure issues popping up.
Okay. Secondly, as you look at the current cost of Australian coal, US coal, and petcoke, on a per delivered cost, on a per kcal basis, what's your sense of discount of, let's say, petcoke to some of these prices? And as you're hedging, are you currently hedging for the next, you already have hedge position for the next 2 quarters. Are you layering in additional hedges beyond? Is it possible to layer in additional hedges beyond these 6 months? And what could be, given where prices are, what could be the increase in cost beyond the next 2 quarters? So you already mentioned 250 rupees per ton increase in the next 2 quarters. How can we look at based on current prices beyond those 2 quarters?
No, I think, see, our stated policy has been to hedge up to 2 quarters, sir. Beyond that, we generally don't hedge because it's too much of a financial commitment. For our size, I think 6 months is comfortable for us to look at the holding. Beyond that, it will become far too expensive in holding costs itself. So now coming to the Futures, we are too small to analyze that, sir. The current trend has been flattish. It went up by 15%. And the trends are there. It is more or less sticking to that. So far, fortunately, we have not seen any incremental kind of a cost increases or the procurement cost increases on that beyond 6 months as we speak. But we will know this only a quarter ahead of time, sir. 6 months is too long a period for us to talk about what is likely to happen on the fuel side beyond that.
And what could be on a relative basis right now on a per kcal basis?
Sir, I think we indicated that in our presentation.
Okay.
But it's right now at 1 rupee 40 paisa, sir. More or less, petcoke, imported coal, Indian coal, more or less, they are all in similar kind of a band. In our case, Singareni coal still looks to be slightly lower. Yeah, we are even blending the domestic coal. So it's for us, fortunately, Singareni did not react to the international prices so far. So over 1 year, the prices of Singareni coal remained flattish. So given that scenario now, the petcoke, imported coal and domestic coal more or less are in the similar kind of a band, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Gaurav Birmiwal. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, I had one question on your realization. We are seeing a 4% quarter-on-quarter drop in realization, which is slightly higher than some of the pan-India players, what they've reported. What can be the reason for this, sir? Is this a South phenomena, or is it a result of your trade mix or something else?
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Gaurav. Yeah, this is a function of product mix, market mix kind of a thing, Mr. Gaurav. I don't think this is an apple-to-apple comparison. Yeah, the trend lines, as I mentioned earlier, yeah, the January and February, the prices actually declined. But that alone was not the reason for the drop in the realization. Yeah, in our product portfolio, we have GGBS, we have PPC, we have PSC, we have OPC, and again, we have different market mix. So it's a highly dynamic kind of a scenario. Yeah, as mentioned earlier, there was a price drop during January and February. Not only for us, but I think that has been the case with most of the markets or the markets that we operate. And when we have to compare ourselves with most of the peers, highly unlikely that we have a similar kind of a peer who would do on the same either market mix or a product mixer. I think it's a combination of various things, Mr. Gaurav.
Fair enough, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Bharat Sheth. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity, sir. Sir, two questions. How much, new capacity are we seeing in our core area, Andhra, Tamil Nadu, and surrounding market, which is likely to come up in your next 2-3 year time?
Yeah, 2-3 years is a long trend, sir. Let us look at what is likely to happen in the current year. Yeah, I think Ramco in Kalamkundla is due for commissioning. The grinding plants of Chettinad and the extension of or the expansion of the grinding plant of Penna in Krishnapatnam and the Chettinad's grinding plant in Vizag are likely to happen in the current year in the regions that we operate, sir. Orissa, yeah, I think we are due in September. Along with us, there are a couple of other grinding stations that would ramp up. Probably would be the last to commission, but there are some ramp up possibilities in the Orissa regions.
Okay. So, second question now, some of the player, from the South market are using, container rail route for dispatching over a little longer distance. So, any comment on that? How we are seeing that trend developing?
No, I think, sir, logistics itself is a huge subject, sir. I'm sure people would use all the possible modes to do the transportation. Typically, in our experience, sir, inter-regional movement, typically we don't expect it to dramatically change. Yeah, some of the opportunities probably would make people to move from unusual kind of interregional movements. What I meant, that probably keep on happening for, it's a case to case and very specific to each of the companies, sir. I don't think I can comment much on those issues. The conventional interregional movements, I think those have been and continue to remain what they have been. Yeah, sometimes we did see some players moving from south into the central markets, but that I think is a very opportunistic kind of a scenario. That keeps happening, but that's a very, very small percentage and once in a while kind of an event.
So what we are doing, to use, digital for logistic and connecting the dealer and to bring everything on the timeline, real time. So are we really working on that?
Sorry, Mr. Seth, I missed out. Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Using a digital, tracking the demand and remaining in touch with the dealer on digital platform and even logistic also. So to make it, more efficient and bring down the logistic cost also. So what exactly is our thought process on that line?
Sir, we are one of the most sophisticated cement plant in India. I do not want to comment anything more on it. Yeah, digitalization did help quite a bit, both in manufacturing side as well as on the distribution side. Yeah, we are one of those companies which are in forefront of usage of the technology, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rajesh Ravi. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir. Good afternoon. Sir, I have a few questions. First, on the employee cost, the spike up seen in the fourth quarter. Any specific reason for that, or would this be a new normal given that your capacities are expanding? And also, if you could comment on the annual numbers, non-current and current asset number. Last 2 years, there has been a significant increase. So, are they related to the ongoing expansions, and hence they will get reversed in the FY22? And third, on the debtor numbers, which have come down significantly. And what is your thought on that? I'll come back for more. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon and deepest condolences, Rajesh. I think the current assets and all, it's an ongoing projects. I would put it. The secondly, on the debtor side, sir, yeah, there is a significant improvement with the government payouts happening during that time. The general debtors position has come down. And lastly, which is the usual practices, the annual discounts for most of the entitlements of annual discounts, sir. Yeah, there is a clear-cut commitment from most of the people for fulfilling their payouts for being eligible for the discount structure. So these are the three reasons why the debtor position has significantly changed. Yeah, Rajesh, can you help me repeat the first question that you asked me?
Employee cost in fourth quarter number has gone up from 18 odd crore run rate. It has gradually increased to 23 crore in the fourth quarter.
Sorry, I could not hear. Can you repeat again? I'm really sorry, Rajesh.
No, sorry, sir. Employee cost number in fourth quarter has gone up to 23 crore versus Q1Q 17.5 crore, and the first half also number was averaging at around 18 crores.
Yeah, Rajesh, two things have happened here. Yeah, one, typically we had an incremental additional bonus that we had to pass on for the people because as you've seen, it's an appreciation for all the people who worked extremely hard in a very difficult time. There was 1 month basic bonus that was given additionally to what normally we give. Yeah, it was more a performance driven kind of a thing. Yeah, we wish it becomes a regular practice, but that was done during the last quarter. That's the reason why there is a spike.
Okay. So in a normal subsequent quarter, this may come down, right?
We wish it goes up because it's a performance driven kind of a number. Right. But in a normal number, if you have to look like to like, yeah, it might come down compared to Q4.
Okay.
And at the same time, most of the commission adjustments and all for the directors and all
Sir, one question. So our profit per ton, like a profitability has been like sort of, earlier part of FY21 benefited from prices. But on an absolute EBITDA basis, we did a phenomenally stable EBITDA in Q2, Q3, Q4. Like going forward, while it's very difficult to project, but annualized profit per ton, what is the right profit per ton you think would make you happy? As a industry participant in AP market.
Last year also made us happy. We would have been even more happier if it was even more. So what makes us happy is the highest possible number that we can achieve. But we have to be realistic about what is likely to happen. Yeah, we did 400 crores, sir, with 3.1 million. We hope to cross that even with an increased volume. But these are all conservative estimates that we look at it. Yeah, not for a minute we are trying to assume that prices would come down or volumes would come down. But these are the estimates that we generally work with, because your planning would be much better. But anything more than what we have done on a specific per ton would keep us happier. And our intent is to go on to achieve those kind of a thing. But that's not in our hands alone. It's a very, very dynamic and market kind of a driven kind. From a cost perspective, we are reasonably there most of the effort, and it's an ongoing kind of an effort where we feel that the blending would improve. So with the blending improvement, we think that our cost structure would become even more lower than what it has been so far. I'm sure you will appreciate we are one among the lowest cost producer of cement, in spite of having a constraint of less than 45% being our blended cements. Yeah, with these two projects, we think that our blending percentage would go up sharply. So with that, our overall cost would further come down. So it might add up to our margins, is what we strongly think, Pratik.
So my question was more in the sense that last year, when we in the first quarter we did near 1600 EBITDA per ton.
But that time it was more optical, Pratik.
Right.
Volume, and it was very, very narrowed down to the close by markets, and pricing also was very good.
Yeah,
Q2 prices were bad, but we started spreading out. So once you start spreading out, obviously your freight and everything would take away that margin. So that as your volumes increased, we started spreading to all the markets which we have historically done. So prices did come down, but that alone was not the contribution for the lower. It's also the freight increases, and the market spread also was higher, and even the product spread also was higher. Pratik.
Sure, sir. I'll take it offline.
Sure, Pratik. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ash Shah. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. So first of all, congratulations. Second, I have couple of questions. So first one is, just the way we merged SCR with the company. So is there any plan for merger of Jajpur going ahead once the capacity is online and it's commissioned?
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. Yeah, the intent is very clear, sir, that we want to keep the structure as simple as possible. So any opportunities that we have, we would rather consolidate. That's a stated kind of a thing. We want to simplify the structure from a management, from a visibility, from all the stakeholders' perspective. It makes a lot more logical sense. So we would pursue that option, Mr. Shah.
Okay. And second question is from the medium-term perspective. So as you have mentioned in your presentation also that you expect to become a 10 million ton by FY25. So have you shortlisted on any location, or if you could throw any light on what is the next phase of CapEx, given that this is going to get over in the next 6 months?
Yeah, sure. Just to give you a background, one of the group companies is involved in the advisory side of the cement business, sir, called RV Consulting. They are very active in technical as well as the business side advisory of the business. So I would at this point of time not like to comment, which is very speculative in nature. We do have a couple of options, sir, but at this point of time, we are busy with these two capex that are coming up. As and when they stabilize, I think we have time, right? It's a long term. It's a stated thing that we want to become a 10 million by 2025. I think by middle of this year, the financial year, we should have commissioned and reached from 5.75 to 8.25. Yeah, we don't see a big challenge for us to come up with that capacity over next 3.5 to 4 years, sir. So we don't see that as a challenge. Yeah, there are a couple of options that are being pursued, but none has reached to a stage where we can start sharing with all the stakeholders. And be rest assured, sir, we are those organization which would be very happy coming to communicate as and when it reaches to a stage where where it's due for decision making. We would be happy to come back to you and tell you.
Thank you, sir.
As and when it is due.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Sanjay Nandi. Please go ahead, Sanjay. Sanjay, please unmute your line.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for the follow-up question, sir. Sir, just two questions. Just to mention, we have a blend thing which will get improved going forward for this Sadhguru and this Odisha plant, which will again further improve our cost. So kindly please help us in getting known, what is the current blend ratio for the existing plant and what would be for the new plant, for Sadhguru and Odisha.
See now, sir, I'm sure we would be very happy if you could send the query to our CFO. You'll be happy giving each unit has its own different blends, sir, because Vizag is right next to the slag, so their blend ratio is very different. At a console level, as I mentioned, it is close to 44%. 44%. Now Madhya Pradesh and is in a place where we have the fly ash available and the market also has good demand for the blended. So there our target is to be more than 80% blended. And Jajpur, as you know, that it is part of the steel industrial estate, Kalinganagar industrial estate, where you have all these steel plants. So the target there also is to make the slag-based cement, either it is CC or the PSC. So even there, the blending, there the target is to do only 100% blended cement. So with these two assets coming on board, we think we should be crossing at a console level more than 50% of our product to be on a blended side, Sanjay.
So, sir, if we are shifting from 44% kind of blend from my overall console level to 50% kind of thing, so what kind of incremental or cost savings we can guide going forward, sir? Any rough figures?
It's a tricky issue. Yeah, cost could come down, but they may not directly translate into margin. Yeah, these are two very independent kind of a thing. Cost will definitely come down because obviously you are using low-cost blended material, so cost would fall, sir. Especially if you look at the power and fuel cost, the more you blend on a per ton basis, you will definitely start coming down quite significantly.
Okay. And the second question, sir, from the Sadhguru plant, we are having a 1 million ton integrated plant there, right? Yes. So what is the, sir, prospect from that plant to implement or increase the capacity? What kind of limestone reserves we have for that thing?
We have 75 to 80 million tons of limestone. I don't think that current limestone mines would support more than what is already there, sir. As we speak, with the current existing holding on the mines that we have, I don't think we would be expanding because we believe on a long-term deposit life. So I don't think we would be squeezing one more line in that particular location, Mr. Sanjay.
In that location. Okay, sir. That's it. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. As there are no further questions, I would now like to hand over the call to Mr. Srikanth for his closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. As always, appreciate your time and interest in talking to us. Sincerely thank you for participating in our call. Yeah, kindly stay safe, stay home. Let us hope we'll come out of this pandemic at the earliest. As always, we would be more than happy, both at Sagar as well as CDR, to address any of the questions that remain unanswered, or if you're looking at any information on us, please do connect. We would be more than happy sharing whatever we would have. Thank you again. Stay safe. Good day.
Thank you all the participants for taking out time for this call. You may now disconnect. Thank you.